Hey everybody, welcome back. We're going to continue on the project where I'm making a stand holder or an indicator holder, dial test indicator holder, a helping hand, whatever you want to call it. It's this product here that I've made. It's got a aluminum base plate, which is nearly an inch thick, pretty hefty, and it has a 1/2 inch rod. Now this rod is not precise, it's not precision. There's a little bit of a wobble in there. It's got some pitting. That doesn't matter for what I'm trying to do. This rod is simply to hold something stationary, and that's it. It's not to be measured up and down and precise along the axis of this rod. It's really just to mount on the surface plate or a flat surface and hold something that you're trying to work with. Today, I want to tackle creating some sort of mounting mechanism for this rod so that I can put something on here and then mount a dial test indicator or some clamps or alligator clips or anything that I want to this rod, whether it's at the top or the bottom. So I have an idea that I want to use to make this thing, and that consists of this test piece of steel that I had. It has about a 1/2 inch hole in the end of it, and what my plans are is to slide this down over the top. I need to drill it out a little bit farther. I think it's a little oblong, but slide it down, and then on this end I want to drill and tap a hole for a thumb screw and make a thumb screw that I can tighten that down so it doesn't move. And then opposite, I want to drill a hole so that I can slide an arm across ways, this way, like this, and then I'll put a thumb screw in the opposite end, and that way I can tighten that down. So that's going to be the project for today, is to improve this indicator holder. And in addition to doing all that, I'll then be able to make some sort of mounting system for my dial test indicators. Then I should be able to swivel this thing around any direction, any which way, and then with another rod I can put the rod in there and I can further mount something into that. So the first thing we need to do is get on with drilling out this a little bit farther, because it's just too tight for this rod down here and it won't slide all the way down. So we're going to go ahead and get this mounted up with using our ER collet and our square collet. That way I can, once I get this in here, I can rotate it 90 degrees from where I get this reamed out, and then we will be able to continue on with the project. Let's get started. I did a little bit of measuring, and this is the collet that I'm going to use, 29/32. Let's get this out of here. We are going to use my square collet block. There we go. Snap that in there. Put this back on here. We don't want to tighten that down too much. There we go. So what we want to do, I'm going to leave this fairly loose because I want to rotate this to get it square with my square side. Until we're ready. I'm going to use the drill bit that I have in order to square this up to this side here, and that way we're able to drill straight through, and this will be square to this face. And then I would like to chamfer both sides of this hole so it's not so sharp. And then on the 90-degree side, we want to drill a hole a little farther down for an additional rod to go through in order to hold my part. There we go. So we've got this mounted in here. This is pretty good lined up with that drill bit. What we're going to do is drill this down and try to get this to ream out a little bit so that it fits with that 1/2 inch rod. I think what I'm going to do is use a DRO. I'm going to zero all this out first. That way when I need to bring it back to measure with that rod, I don't lose my spot. So this will be 0, 0, 0 for all 3 axes, and we're going to continue on with that. So I think this is going to work, and then when we're done reaming this out and having this chamfered and set the way we want, we'll flip it 90 degrees and drill another hole for a smaller diameter rod. Probably use, I'm not sure yet. I'll show you that when I decide. I want something rigid yet not as big as a 1/2 inch rod. I think it's time to support the end of this. It's out a little far, but I think it's time to utilize one of my jack stands that I made. Get this extended out. And this is just to support the end of it ever so slightly as I'm drilling down. Just to keep some pressure on that. Let's go ahead and drill this out. Hopefully it reams it out just enough to where that 1/2 inch rod cleans through there. I cleaned it up a little bit. Wipe that off. I think that probably removed enough material to where I can get that 1/2 inch rod in there. So what I'm going to do now is chamfer these. If it didn't, I've zeroed out the DRO so we can get back to the same position, X and Y axis, and continue on. But I do want to go ahead and chamfer it since I have everything set up here. I just need to lower the quill and chamfer this side. We're going to do a test fit. If so, we'll flip it over, chamfer the other side. Then we'll go with our 90-degree hole. Clean this out, and then we'll see if that rod fits in here. How do we look? Oh, that's beautiful. That is going to work great. So we're going to flip this over and chamfer the other side. Then we're going to bring it down. We're going to drill another hole, and we're going to basically do the same thing. But the set screw will come in on this side. I'm going to make a thumb screw, and that will hold this rod, this cross member, this support piece, whatever you want to call it, on this rod. And I'll be able to come in here and secure and fasten that down to the main rod. Alright, next step, we got to flip this 90 degrees, come down to a reasonable length. I got to kind of figure that out. And we're going to drill a 90-degree hole through this way, perpendicular to the current through hole that's a 1/2 inch. This will be a smaller diameter rod. I'm going to pick out a nice piece of steel that I have to be able to make that cross member. I decided I'm going to use this 3/8 inch rod. It's pretty much the size that I would need. It's stainless, which is probably overkill for what I'm doing here. I don't think I have any 3/8 inch rod that's not stainless. If I do, I'll switch it up. But I like this length. It's about 1 foot in length. And I think that the stand overall can hold all of this. And what we're going to do is drill a 90 degree hole perpendicular to the 1/2 inch hole, the primary mounting hole, 3/8 inch thick, so that we can run our rod like this and mount things up over this 3/8 inch stainless steel rod. Again, I'm going to take a quick look and see if I have any steel that's not stainless, but otherwise this is what I'm going to use. And we're going to go ahead and drill this in. I think this is plenty of distance. It gives me a lot of material to work with, and I don't want to undercut myself and make this too thin. I think this is going to work out. I like it. So 3/8 thick drill hole, and that will hold that stainless steel rod. Here's my 3/8 drill bit. We got our hole drilled. Let's clean that off a little bit. We don't want to move this because I do want to chamfer that hole. Alright, I got my chamfer bit in there. What we're going to do is chamfer this hole on this side, we'll flip it over to the other side, and then we'll confirm that my 3/8 inch stainless steel rod will fit into that hole. That 3/8 inch bit and this rod are way too similar. I'm going to have to either ream this out or come up with a different direction. I decided that I'm going to go a little bit bigger on the drill bit. I'm going to go with a 25/64 drill bit. And we'll just ream this out a little bit bigger, and that way our 3/8 inch stainless steel rod will fit in there just fine. I believe that's going to take care of it. I'm going to leave that drill in there. We'll bring this out and we'll just make sure that that rod fits in there. There we go. I like it. That's really good. Okay. Now what we want to do is flip this over and chamfer the other side. We'll give this side a little bit of a pre-chamfer and then we'll be done. I'm going to bring you over to the workbench. We still got a lot more operations to do. We got to drill and tap both ends of this. We got to cut this off. We got more work to do, but for now we're just going to do a size up, fit up, and see where we stand. I've got this base plate that I have here. Put that up there. This is the vertical rod that's going to hold pretty much everything that I work on, and we have our two holes that we've drilled. I've got them chamfered. This first one slides up and down just fine now. I'm really happy with that. Set that aside. And then the second hole, this is our stainless steel rod. So essentially, if you can imagine, the first one The vertical rod will be like this, and then the horizontal rod will go like this, and we can slide our materials in and out and tighten everything down the way that we need them in order to hold all of our materials. So this is going to be the clamping mechanism of my homemade surface gauge and base plate that I have. This is the key to it here. Now that we have that done, we're going to cut this off, and we're going to make a couple thumb screws in order to mount both of those rods and keep them from moving. And then anything that I want to mount will need to be 3/8 or some fraction of that in order to mount onto this rod. We are going to face this off, and then we'll drill our holes. We're going to do 1/4-20 tap and die, and that's going to be what we can fasten this part with. First thing I want to do is face this off and chamfer it. Well, that's frustrating. Let's try to see if we can get that out. I can always remake this piece. It's not a complex piece, but I don't want to have to. See if we can drill that out. I'm going to try the easy out, but I don't know. It'd be really cool to salvage this. I don't know that that'll work, but we're going to try it. Sometimes things happen in the shop. I don't know. This is flexible. It's gonna, and if I can just get a dimple or something in there that maybe I can get one of these easy outs in, that's what I'm going for. But let's see what we got. Not gonna work. It's just not gonna work. Well, I done messed up. Broke a tap. Second tap I've broken. I really tried to get that out of there. I heated it. Did all kinds of things. And I really just don't have any proper tools to get that out. If I try to drill it, the drill bit wanders off. So really, I think I'm just gonna, for no more difficult than this is, I'm gonna make another one. But I need to be more careful. I knew that I was pushing that tap a little too hard, but I honestly don't think it should have snapped for what I was doing. But regardless, it does fit on, well, it did, but now I got that in there. But the other piece fits okay. So I'm gonna go with the same design, and then I'm gonna put 2 screws on either end to secure it, cap head screws, go like that. And we're just gonna remake this piece out of the remaining, well, most of the remaining part of this. And we'll start over, and I'll be more careful this time. I did order some new taps. They should be here shortly, and we'll try those. I'm anxious to actually try some good quality taps compared to the ones I've been using, and we'll see how that goes. I'm gonna do a fast forward video on getting to this stage again. There's no sense in watching it all again, but I will go ahead and record it, and we'll speed through it, and then we'll continue where we left off. Darn it. It's frustrating, but it happens. I may try to get that out of there someday just as a challenge, but if you got any ideas with, I don't want to buy a whole lot of items to try to get that out of there, but how can I get that out of there? Throw it down in the comments. I'm curious to know your thoughts. did we do? That works. I like it. Next. Clean that out. I ended up remaking this part because I broke my tap in this one. I showed a clip there. So I was on the right track. I did try. I don't have a large enough chamfer bit to chamfer a 1/2 inch hole, and I didn't like how these turned out. So this, since I had to remake this, I decided I'm not gonna try to chamfer that on the next one. This is the end result. This was a part that I made. I'm pretty happy with how it turned out. That is what I was going for. I have a 1/4 cap head screws that are going to go in here and help secure these in place. So there'll be one on each side. The 1/2 inch will go on the rod like this, anywhere I need it to be. And then I can secure it. Let's say I want it right there in the middle. I think you can see that. We'll bring it down a little farther. The 1/2 inch hole, of course, will go over the 1/2 inch rod. We'll put this about this area here so you can see it. And again, of course, I could tighten that down with a wrench if I needed to. And then when I want to, if I need a cross piece or something to hold something a little farther out, I can slide this one in here, tighten that up, and now I have a system that can hold materials or indicators or anything that I'm working on. Now again, this is not crucial and critical as far as being like absolutely precision and with a granite surface plate and all that, but I could use this on the surface plate. The thing I got to be careful with is it's not going to really work out with a dial indicator. That, you know, there's slop in this material. If I'm holding something, or I want to hold something at a certain height, if I'm doing anodizing or anything like that, I now have a system that can hold different materials. Again, I'm going to continue to modify this and expand on this if I get some ideas. I wanted to go ahead and make this a little more functional than it was with just a single rod, a vertical rod that was on this base plate. The other thing that was really cool is I was able to use my square collet for doing perpendicular holes on the round stock. I was able to use my machinist jacks that I made in order to hold the material that was sticking out. And I got to use the mill, I got to use the lathe, I got to do some threading, I got to use some horizontal drilling on the lathe. Overall, I was able to use all kinds of different machines and toolings and different things that I have in my possession in order to make this simple little part. I'm going to close the video out here. I've had some failures and some successes with this particular video. I've also got some camera troubles. I got to figure that out. But regardless, there is part 2, I'll call it, of this thing. Who knows? I may not ever have a part 3, but if I do have another idea for this stand, I'll record it and we'll call it part 3. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And I hope to see you on the next one.